お一人目ご登場いただきますのはワタミ株式会社会長でいらっしゃいます渡辺美樹さんです。お願いいたします。渡辺会長、そしてシンガポール国立大学教授、アントレプレナーセンター所長、カーンさんです。そしてグラミン雪国まいたけ共同経営者の佐竹右行さんです。続いてグラミンキャピタルインド CEO のロイストンバラガンザさんです。そして5人目が NPO 法人プラネットファイナンス会長のロベール・ヴェルディエさんです。それではこの5人の皆様のパネリストによる発表をしてまいります。まずは渡辺会長、お願いいたします。
はい、渡辺でございます。まず私たちのグループの概要を含めまして少しお話をさせていただきます。というのはやはりこのソーシャルビジネス、私たち今取り組んでいるわけでありますが、その取り組むにあたって、私たち企業が取り組むにあたって大事なことは、その企業がどういう文化を持っているのか、そしてもともとどういう背景があるのか、そしてまたその企業にどういう事業における資源ですね、技術、経験を含めてどういう事業資源があるのかということが大変重要であると思っています。その意味でワタミグループは何を目指していて何を持っているかということを簡単にお話をさせていただきます。まず最初がですね、私たちのグループスローガンというのが地球上で一番たくさんのありがとうを集めるということで、お金の入るありがとうもお金の入らないありがとうも集めていく。つまり株式会社というのはそもそもよりたくさんのありがとうを集め、より良い影響を社会に与える、そのために株式会社というのは存在するんだという理念に基づいて経営をしてまいりました。そしてここで簡単に私たちの事業は外食産業、そして介護事業、そして高齢者向けのお弁当宅配事業、そして農業環境事業というものが私たちの事業の主力になっております。流れを見ていただくと分かるんですが、外食産業から始まりまして、現在創業して28年になっております。一部上場企業になった後に、農業に本格的に参入いたしまして、現在500ヘクタール、日本最大の有機農業法人になっております。ユヌスさんの先ほどのキーワードの一つ、食料安全安心というところに関わっております。それからその後介護、高齢者向けの宅配弁当事業の後に、現在は昨年から本格的に自然エネルギーに対して取り組んでおります。これは風力でございまして、2020年までに50基の風車を建てて、そしてワタミグループ2000億円の売り上げを全てを自然エネルギーで賄っていこうという実は大きな取り組みを行っております。これも先ほどユヌス先生のお話のそのエネルギーというところに関わっているわけでありまして、また私たちの事業すべて通じて言えることは、とにかく手間のかかる仕事をやろうと、とにかくコツコツと汗をかきながら収益を上げていく仕事をしようということで、まさに雇用の創出こそが私たち事業の役目だということで、雇用というものをキーワードに置きながらこの28年間経営をしてまいりました。その中で実はこれは海外に対する展開でありますが、現在外食におきまして約1割が海外展開になってきております。場所としましては台湾、香港、深セン、広州、シンガポール、マレーシア、フィリピンという形で毎年1カ国ずつ支社を増やしているという状況であります。そして介護、宅食におきましても海外への展開が今始まろうとしております。一方今度はお金の入らないありがとうということで、実は私たちは発展途上国の子どもたちの教育支援をしております。具体的には我々の12年間というのはカンボジア、ネパールというところなんでありますが、現在学校が173校、そして教育機会の提供ということで6000人の子どもたちをサポートし、給食におきましては1万2000人の子どもたちに毎日給食を提供し、そして売られていく子どもたちに対して77人の子どもを現在孤児院で生活をしてもらっております。また雇用の創出ということで 現在14ヘクタールの農業におきまして有機農業をカンボジアで始めているところであります。そして、そのような背景の中で、ユヌス先生と出会うことができました。最初ソーシャルビジネスをということでお話がありまして、しかもそれを外食でと言われたときには正直困りました。このバングラデシュという今のそのお金のお金持ち、もしくはその皆さんが使えるお金、可処分所得というところでいうと、私たちの店が日本食レストランが本当にできるんだろうかということを考えて調査させていただいた結果ですね、1店2店舗ならばなんとかなるだろうと。で1店舗2店舗では実際そのソーシャルビジネスとしての広がりが全くないわけでございます。そこで、実はユヌス先生と相談させていただいて決めたのが、ワタミインターナショナルというこの世界展開をしている会社がございます。これがその私たちとユヌスさんとの一緒のワタミソーシャルビジネスという会社を立ち上げまして、そこにバングラデシュのエリアフランチャイズ権、つまりバングラデシュにおけるワタミの展開権を譲りましょうと。そしてそこをエリアフランチャイズとしてその下に店舗運営としてのワタミが直営として入りましょう。でワタミがそのエリアフランチャイジーにお金を払うわけであります。でお金を払って、そしてそこのお金を払ったそれをもとに本業として別の業態を作りましょうと。で別の業態を作って実際にワタミであれば今おそらく2000高ぐらいのお金が必要です。1人当たりのお客様単価が2000高で一般の方々がたくさんの店ができるわけないわけです。せいぜい150高とか200高が限界だと思っています。ですから150高200高で出せるお店を作って、そのお店をワタミで育成した人をもとに独立をさせていきましょう。つまりそこにおいて雇用を生み出し、そして新しい業態を生み出すことで外食産業を育成し、そしてその裏側にはこの私たちの持っている有機農業技術を使って、食材を安全で安心なものをしっかりと提供していくんだということです。実際に、2014年、開店に向けて現在動いているところであります。そしてバングラデシュにおきましては、これをユヌスさんとのご縁を機会に教育においての支援も始まりました。実際に、BDP という現地で活動している会社NGO がございまして、その NGO が建てた学校が非常に古くなっているものですから、これを建て替えていきましょうということで、今年は7校の学校を建て替えて、来年以降は毎年10校以上の学校を建て替えていくというふうに考えております。そして、このプーバイルという場所に先生を育成するための学校を作ろうということで、バングラデシュ政府と話し合いまして正式に決定しました。で来年の1月にはこの学校が開校するということになっております。場所はここでございまして、もう土地もすべて購入が終わりました。このような素晴らしい学校が来年の1月に開校するということで、今後ソーシャルビジネスを含めこのバングラデシュにおける教育活動を力を入れていこうと考えております。そして先ほどユヌス先生からお話がありましたが、現在私どもとして日本におきましてみんなの夢を叶える会という、日本一の夢を叶えようという実は大きな活動を行っております。来年の1月30日に日本武道館でその夢の発表会を1万人を集めてやるという実は大きな計画がございます。そこにソーシャルビジネス部門を作り、そしてユヌス先生に来ていただいて審査委員長をやっていただくということを昨日お願いして快諾を得ました。ただしそこでユヌス先生からお話があったのは、ソーシャルビジネスの基金を作ることによってそれが持続、そして今後の発展も考えられると、ぜひソーシャルビジネス基金を作ってほしいというお話がありまして、それは大変素晴らしいアイデアだと私も納得しました。そして、ソーシャルビジネス基金をですね、20億を目標にですね、これから集めていきたい。まず当面はワタミグループとしてはその基金に1億円を入れさせていただいて、そしてその20億をもとに日本のソーシャルビジネスをさらに広めていくというその活動をさせていただきたいと、そのように思っております。今後ともこの日本におけるソーシャルビジネスの実践者として我々は存在したいと思っていますので、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、ワタミ株式会社会長の渡辺美樹さんでした。国内外での活動の現状の報告、そして今後のスケジュールについてもお話しいただきました。 時間が迫ってまいりましたので、続いてご紹介しましょう。シンガポール国立大学教授、アントレプレナーセンター所長のカーンさん、お願いいたします。
First of all, I'd like to thank the Kyushu University for giving me the opportunity to be here to learn from all of you about how to promote and support social entrepreneurship and social business. Our effort in trying to promote social business in Singapore is very new. We started about a year and a half ago in collaboration with Grameen Creative Lab to really help promote the idea, and also in particular to try to start incubating startup by young social entrepreneurs who want to really grow sustainable social business. And the goal of this is really to try to really sort of plant the seed of starting up social businesses, and in the process to show by example to other young people in Singapore that this can be done. And this is to be focused not just on solving social problems in Singapore, but also social problems around the world. We have really sort of tried to have different activities that will help us to support this. And so a key part of starting this is to really provide some very small seed funding that will help these young social business to start to grow. And a key part of this is to have mentors who can sort of really help guide these young people. And we started by having a social business week as a sort of a signature event every year to really try to create interest and awareness, and also to showcase some of the young social businesses that we have started. So as you can see here, these are examples of events that we actually organized in our social business week last year, and we are very grateful to have the support of Professor YUNUS to be in Singapore to really help spread the message. These are some of the press media that were generated. I think there were a lot of interest that have been created, and we are still in the process of following up to promote some of the interests that are generated. Besides the Social Business Week, we also try to have a number of other activities. One is that we started a TEDx KRP to really showcase some of the social business that have been started around both, not just in Singapore, but also in the region, to hope to inspire more people to follow. We have also created a social entrepreneurship and cooperative enterprise competitions as part of our annual business plan competition in Singapore. This is to really encourage young people in particular, as well as old people, to try to really start social business and to get feedback and advice. And we have also supported an initiative called Relief 2.0 to really try to promote more effective disaster relief operations. And in fact, Robin Low, who is our key man leading this, he is having a art exhibition which is just downstairs to show the kind of progress that have been made in disaster relief in the Tohoku situations. And also, he is creating what he calls a market of hope to really provide a platform to allow the people who are affected by the disasters to really produce goods that can then be sold around the world through this platform, and to encourage people to support these disaster affected people, not through just charity, but by really buying the goods and services that these people have produced. In the process, creating employment for the people and help in the disaster relief process. We recognize that one of the big challenges to grow social businesses is to really have investors who are prepared to invest using the social business concept in particular, and also impact investing in general. That means investors who are willing to put in investment and hopefully see the enterprise become sustainable and take back only their capital as in the ideal social business model. But even currently, there are impact investors who are prepared to take maybe just a small amount of interest or return based on this as well. And so this is a broader so-called impact investing, and we are hoping to create more awareness and interest. And that's why last month we actually supported an organization in Singapore called the Impact Investment Exchange to try to help create more awareness and interest in impact investing in general and social business investing in particular. And we are pleased to host this event in our universities, and also to have some of our social businesses to actually have a chance to pitch to these investors. And I'm pleased to say that a couple of them have in fact received strong interest and are in the process of being funded. So this is just one example of the social business that we have supported. Is Milab. This is really providing lending to the poor in India, and really allowing them to really have jobs and create employments through the crowdsourcing of lending from around the world. This is another example of a startup that really provides a platform for people to support courses around the world. I want to sort of also highlight a couple of other, but in the interest of time, I would really sort of focus on this particular startup, which is really started by two young lawyers from our university who graduated recently. And their goal is to create employment in Cambodia by teaching the local people how to make jewelry out of the scrap metal from unexploded bombs and landmine metals. And these jewelry are then being sold through an e-commerce website around the world, as well as eventually through shops. And we engaged some students in NUS initially, in Singapore initially, to actually help design the jewelry and to work with the people in Cambodia to actually make the jewelry. Our next goal is to try to attract more designers from around the world to hopefully help provide and donate their design to this venture. And their long-term goal is actually to spread the message of peace, of supporting the causes of the people who suffer from these landmines and bombs, and also to preach the importance of really creating freedom and peace around the world, but using a social business and sustainable approach rather than based on charity. And I'm pleased to say that through our support, we have been able to garner some follow-on funding from the government, and we hope that they can then grow this and hopefully will become a sustainable social business. I just want to also sort of highlight that this is an ongoing effort that we are trying to sort of support more young social business startup, and any help and suggestion you can have of how we can help grow these, we will appreciate very much. And in particular, we believe that we have tremendous opportunity to work with other social businesses around the world, including in Japan. And I look forward to your advice and suggestion. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。シンガポール国立大学教授、アントレプレナーセンター所長のポー・カーンさんでした。続きまして、グラミン雪国まいたけ共同経営者の佐竹右行さんの発表です。お願いいたします。
こんにちは。雪国まいたけの佐竹でございます。今日は私どもがバングラデシュで展開しております緑島プロジェクトというものについてお話をしたいと思います。皆さん緑島と言いましても馴染みないかもしれませんが、これは皆さんが毎日のように食べておられるもやしの材料でございます。こういったきれいな緑の豆が1週間でもやしに変わるわけです。このもやしというのは大変貴重なものでありまして、現在日本では一粒も生産しておりません。ほぼ 100% 中国から輸入しております。この豆をバングラデシュで栽培し雇用を作る、そして農民の方の収入を増やすということが我々の大きなプロジェクトです。そして合弁会社が作り出した利益というものをもう一度ソーシャルビジネスに活用する、それによって教育とか医療とかいったものを当地の農民に還元するということを目的としたプロジェクトであります。 このプロジェクトをやるにあたりまして3つの課題に分けてお話をしたいと思います。グラミン雪国まいたけはどのようにしてできたのか、そしてプロジェクトのこの概要、それからユヌスソーシャルビジネスをいかにして実現するか、これをお話ししたいと思います。実は私はわずか2年半前に初めてバングラデシュに伺いました。この時ソーシャルビジネスというものに出会ったのであります。マイクロファイナンスを勉強するために農村地区に2週間近く泊まり込んで生活をいたしました。ここで農民と一緒に語り合うことによっていろいろな彼らの要求するもの、必要なものが何かということを肌身で感じました。我が社は農業の会社ですからきっと何かできる、そんなふうに思いました。非常に幸いなことにこの生活をした後ダッカでユヌス先生のスピーチを聞くチャンスがありました。ここでさらに私は確信を持ってソーシャルビジネスというものをぜひ実践したいというふうに思いました。半年間日本でいろいろな準備をしてもう一度6月にダッカを訪れました。そして私の作ったプロジェクト案をユヌス先生にお話ししてました。先生は注意深くこのプロジェクトを読んでくださりいくつかのアドバイスをくださいました。そして本当にやる気があるなら一緒にやろうと、そしてあなたの会社のトップに合わせてくださいということをおっしゃいました。そして、私はすぐに日本に帰りまして役員会社長等に説得をし了解を得ました。2010年10月私が初めてバングラデシュを訪れて10ヶ月後には調印式をするに至りました。この10月13日という日はユヌス先生が4年前にノーベル平和賞を取られた大変記念すべき日です。このような日にこの式典を設けることができたことは大変光栄なことだと思っております。これがスタートアップです。でなぜそのもやしの豆をバングラデシュで作るのかということですが、このおなじみの野菜というものが今危機に瀕しております。価格はですね4年前に$900だったものが今$2000トンあたりで超えております。これは全ての穀物において同じような状態です。しかもその輸入量というものはほぼ 100% 中国からに依存している。もしも中国からの輸出がストップすると日本の食卓からもやしというものが消えてしまうということがあるわけです。そのために日本にとっても継続的にメリットがある、バングラデシュにとってもメリットがある、このウィンウィンの関係を作ることができるような気がしました。具体的に申しますとまずは農村地区において貧困層への雇用を創出する。特に私たちのソーシャルビジネスが他のソーシャルビジネスと違いますのは農村部で仕事を作るということです。多くのソーシャルビジネスは都市部で産業を起こすことによって職を作ります。しかし真の貧困は農村にあります。ですからここに仕事を作るということに私どもは意味があるというふうに考えております。そして、作った緑豆につきましては当初は7対3で日本によって輸出する予定でしたけれども今 50%50/50 で、日本とバングラデシュでシェアすることにいたしております。バングラデシュの方々には原価で、いい豆を提供する。で日本向けには高く買うことによって、合弁会社の利益を創出するということが我々の目的です。で3つ目に重要なことは日本のその農学技術というのは大変高いものがございましてこのテクノロジーを導入することによって単位あたりの収穫量を増やすことができます。今回の事業におきましては平均1トン1ヘクタールあたり1トンの収穫がバングラデシュのその平均的な収量であったんですが私どものそのテクノロジーを導入することによって約 1.5 トン 150% 以上の収穫を得ることができました。このように農民の収入は大変増えたわけであります。また良質な豆を作ることによって単価が上昇しましてキロあたり50タカ昨年売っておりましたものが今年は60タカで売れたというふうな実績も出ております。そして日本にとってのメリットは現在の中国一辺倒からのその輸入リスクを回避し供給ルートを多様化するということ、それからバングラデシュの方々と一緒にその自前で栽培するわけですから価格上昇のリスクを回避するということができます。これにより安定的な供給を図ります。 さらに大事なことは、食べ物ですから安心安全ということが非常に重要であります。私たちのその研究所では1日に400種類以上の農薬、ヒ素、重金属というものをチェックするシステムを持っております。これをパスしたものだけをバングラデシュや日本の人々に召し上がっていくというシステムを活用いたします。やはり口にするものですからこの部分が極めて重要だというふうに思っております。実際今年のシーズンを通じまして私どもは7500件の農家さんとお仕事をすることができました。面積は2000ヘクタール以上です。そして大きなことは女性の雇用機会を創出したことです。単に栽培だけではなくこのようなグレーディング、ソーティングといいますが豆の選別作業が極めて重要になります。この中には虫とか石とかいろんなものが混ざるわけですが丁寧に取り除く仕事、これは手先の器用な女性が非常に得意とするところであります。また現地で販売することによってセールスの仕事、そういった機会を作ることができます。この3つのジョブクリエーションがこの事業の大きな目的でもあります。どのような地域でどのようなサイズで栽培をしているかということですが、まず北部、この地域は最も貧しい地域の一つですが、ランプールという町を中心にガイバンダ、タクラガオン、ディナスプールといった町々で約4000名以上の農家さんに参加していただいて1000ヘクタール以上の畑で栽培をしております。真ん中のイシュワルディというすみませんナトゥールですね、ナトゥールイシュワルディといった町では約500ヘクタールの畑で2000人の農家さんに参加しております。そして南部の地域では約400名200ヘクタール以上の畑で栽培をしておるということでございます。最終的に今年度は約2000トン以上の豆が収穫できました。これらのマネジメントをするためにユヌス博士に会長になっていただきました。そして私とバングラデシュのバリさんという方で共同経営者を務めまして、各地域に日本人とバングラデシュの方のユニットマネージャーを配置しております。その下に1人で100名程度の農家さんをの指導をするフィールドスーパーバイザーを約50名配置しまして日々彼らとのコンタクトをしながら指導しております。このようなビデオも作りました。これはバングラディッシュ語で作っております。今までは直接地べたに豆をまいていたわけですが畝を作って20センチごとにきれいに豆をまいていきます。そして正しい農薬の使い方、肥料の使い方、使ってはいけない薬、そういったものを丁寧に指導しました。こういったことが大きな収量につながります。これはきれいな畝ができています。そして重要なことはこのように豆からゴミを取り除く作業です。このように丁寧に手で石やゴミやあるいはその割れたような豆、形の悪いものを取り除いていきます。最後にですね、日本向きは大きな豆を、バングラディッシュでは小さな豆が好まれますのでこういうふうに選別をいたします。バングラディッシュでは小さな豆の方が高く売れます。我々はもやしを作るために大きな豆が必要になります。非常にまさに両者にとってウィンウィンの関係ということになります。さらに九州大学とグラミンクリエイティブ GCC の協力を得ましてソフトウェアを開発しました。50名のフィールドスーパーバイザーがこのシステムを通じまして栽培状況こういったように写真で送ってきます。花のつき具合であるとか実のつき具合、そしてそれらが今どの程度成熟しているか、あるいは害虫が発生した時にはどのような薬を使えばいいかというようなことを相互にウェブ上で共有できます。すべての農民がこのように登録されまして名前、住所、あるいは持っている畑の面積、家族、携帯番号まで入っております。このようなFacebook のような先進的な技術を一方で使っているということが我々の事業を可能にいたしました。YUNUS ソーシャルビジネスを実現するためのこれがモデルであります。グラミン雪国まいたけは雪国まいたけとグラミンクリッシュファウンデーションの合弁会社です。この両方が協力するわけですが私どもが大きなお金ローンを提供し 栽培ノウハウを伝授します。グラミンサイドからはマイクロファイナンス、あるいは農村地域における農村経営のノウハウを活用して協力して展開しております。今事業を通じまして今年は2000名の方がマイクロファイナンスを利用したというふうに報告を受けております。グラミン雪国まいたけは農村で栽培ノウハウやトレーニングを行います。これによってできた豆をグラミン雪国まいたけが購入します。購入した豆は現地で原価で販売され、日本向けには雪国まいたけが利益を乗せた上で購入します。この利益がさらに先ほど申しましたようにユヌスソーシャルビジネスの原資となってまた循環してさまざまな農村の利益につながるような活用に使われるわけであります。これらを実現するために私どもはこの1年間で100回以上の勉強会を村々でやりました。そしてこれは最初に種をまいた時の記念写真です。最初この何もない土地にきれいなこのような畝を作りました。今までは何もない平たい土地に作ったわけですけれども、この畝が重要です。そこに水を流します。そうすることによって収量効率が非常に上がるわけです。60日後にはこのような緑の畑が現れました。そして75日にはですね、この黒い鞘のようなものが見えますが、豆の成熟したものです。これを一生懸命収穫している女性の写真です。そして、この収穫した豆をみんなで集まって、ゴミ取り作業をして、大きさサイズごとに選別をします。この写真は先月ユヌス博士と一緒に、収穫の成功を祝って撮った記念写真です。年末には私どものもやしが皆様の食卓に提供できるのではないかと思います。どうもありがとうございました。
グラミン雪国まいたけ共同経営者の佐竹右行さんの発表でした。続いてグラミンキャピタルインド CEO のロイストン・バラガンザさんの発表です。お願いいたします。
Gozaimasu. Is that the right pronunciation? Gozaimasu. Thank you very much for having me here this morning. In a special way, I would like to thank the YUNUS and the Shiki Social Business Research Center, Professor Okada, and the team here for inviting me to share our story from India. I was asked to share a success story, but I would first like to redefine what success is. And I'd like you to raise your hand up, those of you who are part of a social business or would like to start a social business. Anyone who's part of a social business or would like to start a social business, that's wonderful. That's good to see. And I think that is what success is already. In the world of business, success is looked at differently. But I think in the world of social business, the intent itself is one of the two indicators. I like to call it the two eyes of measuring success. The impact and the intent, both are equally important. So with that, I'd like to share with you our social business in India. Grameen Capital India is a first of its kind social business looking at the Indian market from a capital advisory side. And I thought rather than an agenda or a presentation flow, I will use Professor Yunus's 7 principles of social business and use that as the way that I would look at how we have performed as a social business. We are in the month where we're going to have the Olympics, and the Olympics are known for the 5 rings, and we're familiar with the 5 stars on this panel. So I think we're symbolically anticipating the Olympics and talking about the 7 principles today of how social businesses are to be run. We will look at the first one, which has the objective of overcoming poverty or one or more such problems, and see what we are doing in Grameen Capital India. And I'd like, therefore, to share with you some of the work that we have done. We are now looking at advisory work that is bringing capital into a variety of spectrums. We're looking at affordable health, affordable education, clean tech for the affordable segment. We're looking at affordable housing, low-cost education, financial inclusion, and technology that is serving the underserved and the excluded masses. And I would here like to thank Professor Yunus and Hans, because when we spoke the last time and many times over these years, we have been struggling with microfinance and where it was going in India. And I was therefore encouraged to really push the definition to look at various elements that are serving the bottom of the pyramid. And Professor Yunus in his opening comment talked about how we see things in a new light when we think social business and how the creativity expands. And so we have expanded our own service and our own consultancy work to go much beyond just microfinance into a whole lot of adjacent spaces which are touching the lives of the poor people. The next talks about financial and economic sustainability. As I mentioned to you, Grameen Capital is an investment banker to the poor, we like to call ourselves, because we are connecting capital to the bottom of the pyramid. And these are some of the transactions that we've done over the 5 years of our young life. We have closed close to about $70 million in debt syndication, around $50 million in equity, and about $40 million of pipeline transactions. Now, we've really been able to work with a whole variety of transactions, as you saw in the earlier slide. In affordable education, we've just closed a transaction for a company called Vionova with a Luxembourg-based fund. And this company is going to set up schools which are low-income, low-fees schools for the low-income households in India to be able to broad-base the work that they are doing there. I'm happy to say that in the first 2 years itself of our operations, both year 1 and year 2, we were able to be profitable and plowed all that back. In the next 2 years, because of the microfinance crisis, we ourselves went into losses because we were so dependent on just one stream. But because we've been able to now think creatively and look at other sectors, in the last year, most of our pipeline has been non-microfinance as compared to microfinance operations. And so we've been really looking at the space at the bottom of the pyramid as creatively as we can. The next principle talks about the investors get their money, only the investment amount back and no dividend. For me, I'd like to tell you a story here. We are a unique social business because we have 3 parents. Most of us in this room have 2 parents, if not all. But Grameen Capital India has 3, the Grameen Foundation, the IFMR Trust, which is part of the ICICI Bank family, which is the largest private bank in India, and CIFL, which is Citicorp Finance India Limited. So 3 of them came together 5 years ago to start Grameen Capital India. And so while we are a child of Grameen Foundation, we are therefore part of the Grameen family, and we would be delighted. And I've never felt really like a stepson, Professor Yunus, but I've always felt like a family member. And the warm hug that you gave me when I came in yesterday, I was very ill on the flight, but I suddenly felt a lot better, and since you're welcome. And I thank you for constantly encouraging and inspiring us at Grameen Capital India. The next principle, I think, is the most interesting one of the social business definition. When the investment amount is paid back, the company profit stays with the company for expansion and improvement. And the reason I've put this slide without much text is because I think while we have seen a lot of examples of social business and social business investments, what we are now going to be able to see in Grameen Capital India, inshallah, God willing, in the next few weeks, could be the first ever social business exit, where we are seeing an investor coming in to buy out an existing investor. And so I'd like to give you a little bit of background, since it's a sharing in a closed group, that one of our founder shareholders through the ICICI Bank began to do similar work to what we were doing. And so they realized that it was going to be competitive within the family, and so they would like to exit. So when they told me this, I was in a shock, because how do we now find an investor to come in? And again, by God's grace, we were talking to one investor for a transaction that we were looking at for an affordable technology company. We shared with them the plan. We told them about what we are doing. We asked them to raise money for that company. And they called in their business people. They heard the pitch. And after that, the meeting was over. They were casually asking me, so what do you do? How often do you do deals like this? And we shared with them what we do. And they said, but we'd like to be part of this. And I said, great, we'd like to be finding a way to work with you, because I knew that one of our investors wanted to go away. And they said, we would like to buy that stake. And I said, but it's a social business. And I'm reminded of Professor Yunus' story of the Grameen Bank founder and the Grameen Danone discussion with, what's his name, Professor Yunus? The Danone company, Frank Ribot. And so I said, this is it, but you will not get a return. And he said, okay, I agree. And I said, no, you don't understand. And I again confirmed to him that you will get only your principal back, but you will not get any dividend on this. And Professor Yunus, your story is similar till here, but my story has a twist, because I didn't have to go back and write a letter to him and confirm the understanding, because what he said then surprised me. He said, I understand this. This is Professor Yunus' social business. And so you did all the hard work for me, because he immediately said, I understand completely. This is a Yunus social business, and I will not get a return, and I'm happy. And another investor heard about it, and he was interested. So we had two people saying, we want to buy this one stake. And now, again, by God's grace, we are in an amazing position where we are not only going to be doing a secondary sale where one investor is going to buy the IFMR stake, but we're going to have a primary issuance to the other investor who also wants to be part of Grameen Capital India. And so we will, and he too understands social business and that there will be no dividend. And so we will actually be increasing our capital base because both investors are keen to come in and both wanted to bring in the whole amount. So it is really something that I would like to acknowledge personally, Professor Yunus' support, because the climate in India has been built, sir, by your many visits, that people instinctively understood the theme, they understood what social business is, and it made my life easier, because to close a transaction on the other social enterprises side, you get into valuations and discussions and negotiations. But here it was clear. There is no dividend, there is no valuation. If you are interested in what we are doing, and this is our mission, we want to bring capital to the bottom of the pyramid, and they've understood it. So I would like to publicly acknowledge Professor Yunus and Grameen Foundation for giving us this theme to work with. The next one is on environment consciousness. And when I was putting this slide, I was scratching my head a little, because how do we really work in this spectrum? And we thought of working with the energy company Thrive Energy that we are working with to help them make to help them raise capital to scale up the business. But I would like to go beyond this slide, because as I was reflecting on this, I was thinking, how are we really environmentally conscious? Are we conscious of our environment in India? We've seen the microfinance environment become very heated and that bubble explode. What are our learnings from that environment? How are we conscious to the environment that we are working in? And so we have done two things. One is, Professor, on your guidance, if you remember in Lavasa one day when we met, you told me in every contract you sign, put a clause that if you are reducing your cost because Grameen Capital is helping you to raise money, then you will pass that benefit on to the client. And so today, every client that we sign up has that clause in his contract. And that was our way that even when the crisis hit, we were able to tell the media, we have been consistently working with people who fulfill double bottom line and making them sign on that. The other consciousness came when we said we will move beyond just microfinance to look at other enterprises serving the bottom of the pyramid. Today we are working with other social enterprises, but hopefully as the social business pipeline builds, then we will be able to bring capital even to those as well. The third idea that we have looking at the environment is that we have advisory business, but other products are not there. So maybe, again, God willing, over a period of time, we could add more debt and equity products that we could help some of these social enterprises. The sixth principle is the workforce gets market wage with better working conditions. We are a very small team. We are just 4 people in Grameen Capital India. We've been 4 people or less since the time we've started. We've done, as I said, $150 million of deals, but we've done it with just a very small team, but a team which was drawn from ABN AMRO, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, IIM Ahmedabad, all top quality names of people, the common denominator being a deep passion for the work that we are bringing in. Fire in the belly, people who are really passionate about the cause. And we've been blessed with having a really encouraging set of colleagues. And the last one, do it with joy. I just want to leave with a few pictures of Professor Yunus's birthday. We celebrated with Vai written in the sand in the beach in Mumbai. We have a small team, so we took the families out. and celebrated Professor Yunus's birthday there. But we in Grameen Capital India spell joy differently. We spell it with J-O-Y-Y, because we believe that we will celebrate what we do. The news has caught it, and we would like to see our greatest thank you, as yours says, as many thank yous as possible. We would like to see our thank yous in the smiles on the faces of our customers. Thank you.
はい、グラミンキャピタルインド CEO のロイストン・バラガンザさんによる発表でした。そして、最後のパネリストになります NPO 法人プラネットファイナンス会長のロベール・ヴェルディエさんです。お願いいたします。
Good morning to you. おはようございます。And as I see the crowd, and there are so many foreign people from Malaysia, Singapore, India, and everything. I think I'll try to use a mutual language, which is English. I won't dare to do it in French or in Japanese. Okay, this is a practical project I will present concerning Ghana. What is interesting is that basically it's a project where you will find there as well 3 partners. I mean, basically, Grameen and Professor YUNUS is there as basically one of the major philosophical supporter, because I mean this is a social business. But Planet Finance, which has been created by Jacques Attali, who is a long-term friend of Professor YUNUS, and whom I'm representing in Japan, is basically doing the coordination. And we should not forget that the major supporter there, and that's what I will mean in terms of social business, because I mean we need some seed money, and the seed money comes from the German very famous IT group SAP. So this is a project which is basically in Ghana, concerning one of the treasure of that land, which is shea nuts and shea butter. So basically we will explain about how important this for the beauty of all those ladies in Europe, and very soon I suppose in Asia, because it's very much well known in Europe, not so much yet in Asia. So we have also in Japan some people that are helping us through the introduction of Innovator, which is basically a small investment banking boutique in Tokyo. We have been in contact with Nikko Chemical, and Nikko Chemical will start marketing the star shea butter to the Japanese audience. So basically, just to give you an idea, this is basically an idea of what is shea butter for Ghana. As you can see, there is a very small high-grade shea butter which is for export and cosmetic industry, and it's high value, and most of it is on local consumption, which is obvious. But actually, to be very clear, Europe cosmetic industry is crazy about this shea butter, which is very good for the skin of ladies. So basically, the idea was to try to put together social business to and basically using the skills of SAP to have it IT enabled, basically, which means as sophisticated as possible, to try to support the ladies of Ghana that are collecting the nuts in the forest, and help them transfer their goods to the European buyers mainly, and then through Nikko Chemical maybe to Japan buyer, and then America buyers, to try to solve one of the major issue, which was trying to cut the value chain, because in the middle between the ladies that were collecting the nuts in the forest and the customer, basically there was a lot of traders that were making most of the added value without bringing any contribution to the business. So basically, this is reinforcing the Shia value chain, basically, and to try to make it shorter and more direct between the producer and the final consumer. So this was designed as a social business. So basically, the main purpose is to increase the ladies on the ground income by 20 to 50%. This is a dramatic increase because that's trying to bring them out of poverty. So this is, as a nutshell, the kind of very simple setup of the social business company which has been created, and the name is Starshi. As you can see, there is a huge contribution from SAP, and this is essential because without SAP support and SAP money, this would not have been flying. Here, I mean, just to give the way it's organized, you have basically the district of farming, all the communities, all the women that are basically collecting the nuts, and basically this is centralized by Starshi, and Starshi is doing the marketing to international buyers. So, to be able to access the large buyer, to be able to sell to those companies, we need premium nuts. So basically, social business is important, but social business has to be concentrated on high quality. Because if you do low quality, there will no way that you, not only you will not provide dividend, that's not the objective of a social business, but you will create loss, and this is not an objective of social business. So basically try to have the best product possible, the best premium product possible. And also, this is a major concern, of course, as you may know, for the cosmetic industry. Traceability is essential, which means that there is, those products will be used on the skin of the people, so we cannot afford any mistake. I mean, safety is also a major concern. It was mentioned for the mung bean, but it's also the case for the shea butter. And the last point is, obviously, to little by little to reach important quantity of business, because if you do it too small scale, the amount of investment, which was of course provided by SAP mainly, but I mean the amount of business, the amount of investment will never be recovered. So it's important to aim high and to make to a certain level of size to make the social business viable and sustainable. So basically, as you can see, the production capacity, which is 400,000 tons to in 2012, will grow very, very quickly to 3,000 million tons to in 2015, and the butter as itself will also increase dramatically. So we insisted about this. I will, I mean, the quality, traceability, ethicability. So it's very important for social business to be sustainable, to have all those attributes. It is not only to do something for the short term, but to be sure that the nuts are priced at the right price, and that the butter basically is calculated to allow the women, which are essential to collect the nuts, to make a living on the long term. This is next steps. Obviously, Starshi is a startup. I mean, 2012 is the first year of operation, but the purpose is by having a major certification and to get the support from clients, from the governments, and to also respect the principle of social business. And so this is basically what we are we wanted to present to you. I think if I can make one sentence as a kind of summary. First, the root of this is collaboration between, let's say, on the ground Grameen institution. Then there is Planet Finance, which is doing the coordination, and basically doing, especially the relationship with clients, then there is clearly, without the support of SAP to start up, there would not be this project. And what is very important then, when you have the quality products, then to aim on a worldwide basis distribution with, and you are really in normal business. Social business is viable if it creates normal business ultimately. If you don't bring quality, people will buy for once the product, but they will never buy it twice. And this is no good. I mean, so basically to insist on quality, insist on aiming high worldwide, and then I think that's the big message of this Ghana project. We hope it will succeed. We hope that all Japanese women or Asian women will discover shea butter and will use it, and will use, if possible, this ethical star shea butter. Thank you so much.
はい、ありがとうございました。 NPO 法人プラネットファイナンス会長のロベール・ヴェルディエさんの発表でした。さて続いてパネルディスカッションへと参ります。それではここからはですね、コメンテーターにユヌス先生に登場いただきます。先生、よろしくお願いいたします。そしてモデレーターとしまして、九州大学システム情報科学研究院准教授のアシル・アハメッドさんにお願いいたします。それではアシルさん、ここからはお願いいたします。
Just to give you a recap, we hired from experience starting from Mr. Satake. He talked about his social business is about agriculture, produces mung bean in Bangladesh, export mung beans to Japan to produce moyashi. Watanabe-san is interested in restaurant business. It's also will be operating in Bangladesh. And Professor Pom from Singapore, National University of Singapore, they have a Grameen Creative Lab in US. And Mr. Verdi from Planet Finance, and also Roston Braganza, operating in India. It's also about from the financial industry. Well, many people understand, I mean, when we discuss, people understand that people take social business as a normal business. Some people take social business as an NPO activity. Some people take it as an NGO activity. Can I ask everyone, how do you see, if we look at the first principle of social business, it clearly mentions about the objective of the business. So can we just reconfirm that what kind of businesses you're doing, what is the objective, social objective of it? So can I give you 10 seconds each, or 10,000 milliseconds, so that you can answer the question? Everyone. So can I start from Satake-san?
私にとってユヌスソーシャルビジネスとはまず雇用を作り、そこを通じて、貧困な方々が収益を増やし、そして、それに関わる人たちみんながウィンウィンの環境を構築することだと思います。で、いつも先生がおっしゃる What is money for you というお言葉ですね。お金っていうのは何のために使うのかと、そして本当にお金を稼いで何をするかということを考えさせてくれる、そういう大切なビジネスだというふうに思っております。
Thank you.
社会的問題の解決ということですが、私は28年間株式会社やってきましたが、社会的問題の解決はやってきました。もちろん雇用創出、それから食料問題、それからエネルギー問題、それから今日本でいう老人問題、これと立ち向かってきたつもりです。じゃあ私の株式会社とソーシャルビジネス何が違うのかというと、私の株式会社は配当しなきゃいけませんので、要はそのバランスシートの自己資本になる部分がですね、遅いわけです。これがですね、ソーシャルビジネスの場合には配当をしなくて済むわけですから、要するに自己資本がより早くたまることによって、より効率的にその企業運営をすることができ、その結果 社会的問題をより早く広く解決ができるということだと思います。そこにおいては出資する方がそれを承認することが大事で、出資する方と働く側もしくは経営する側がそのことで一致すれば、ソーシャルビジネスが私は一番社会的問題を解決するにあたって最もスピード感のある事業だと思っています。それが私の認識です。
Thank you very much. Now it's from the academic point of view. How do you address social objective, and how do you define social business from the academic point of view?
Well, I believe that a social business is one that is driven to achieve social impact and to solve social problem in a sustainable and scalable way, so that you don't have to depend on handouts and charity to sustain this, social impact.
Thank you very much. Verdi?
Well, I can just repeat my previous statement. And for me, social business is sustainability and joy. And of course, if you want to have joy, you have to be sure that not to be too stressed. So this is important to be very careful of not going into a business which is going to loss making, because if you get loss making business, then you a lot of stress and you don't have joy. So sustainability and joy.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Difficult to follow on to that, sustainability and joy, but really not only being sustainable and joyful, but how do we bring sustainability and joy to the clients and the enterprises that are at the bottom of the pyramid? And if we can really do that, then as Professor Yunus said yesterday at the opening party, we need to create a counterculture to what the economic system of the world is offering today. We need to create a counter system. And if we are able to bring sustainability and joy to other clients and other social enterprises and other social businesses, then really you have a movement that feeds off itself and really builds into pretty much overtaking what the system is today.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to ask Professor Muhammad Yunus for his final comments about the questions also probably you had asked, and also the presentations you have heard from all the implementers. Professor Yunus.
Well, I think the most significant part of this discussion was, which will go into the highlight of this forum this year, would be among many things that we'll achieve perhaps during the forum. One already been achieved in this particular session. There's a significant announcement made by Watanabe-san to create a social business fund. He just announced it, took the initiative, a social business fund of $20 million. And this is what he's going to formally do it, announce it in January, the meeting that he's talking about. I think this would be a landmark decision that we already have. Let's give a big applause for Watanabe-san for doing this. It's a fantastic announcement. This is a very exciting announcement, and it will be done at the right place where he'll bring thousands of young people in Tokyo, I think 12,000 or so, to announce it. This will be also declaring a social business competition where this money will be invested, and so on. So this is a very significant achievement of this forum. And the other one that I would like to draw attention, some of the successes that have been achieved in the past, and one mentioned by Satake-san. It's a very hard deal that he had to make in Bangladesh, trying to bring the mung bean in Bangladesh in the way he did that. It was very difficult to negotiate with the government and all the details of that. One particular thing I draw attention, mung bean is not a new crop in Bangladesh. Bangladeshis are known as a people who live on rice and beans. That's what the Bangladeshis are for. So this is part of their staple, so it's always there. But it's always there in a very traditional way. what Satake-san has brought in, the new dimension to it, a social business dimension to it, how to approach this in a completely different way. And that is the beginning of it. Now it has been laid down. All the structure has been laid down. And this year was the first crop, just came in. And this is beyond expectation. They were kind of aiming at somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 tons. They now have 2,000 tons. 2,000 tons of production in the limited area that they tried out, which gives them tremendous amount of encouragement. And it also, the yield has gone up right away. It's from 1 ton to 1.5 ton per hectare. So this is again a big achievement. The biggest achievement was he is having trouble in exporting beans from Bangladesh because government will not allow this company to export because Bangladesh is in short supply of beans itself. So we import beans, mung beans from outside. So in that situation, government doesn't understand why mung beans should be exported from here. So to find out the logic of that was quite a tough job to convince the government that this is an additional crop that they're producing, and this is a very special type that we'll be exporting. And by exporting this special crop, the total production of the country will be increasing. And that's what the demonstration they had to convince the government that by exporting this crop, the total production of mung beans in Bangladesh would be enhanced, increased. Without that export permission, the production will remain where it is. It's a very low-level production. So he had succeeded in that too. It's not simply with the farmers. You have to deal with the policymakers. So let's give a big applause to Satake-san for making it happen in a very difficult negotiation that he has done. He couldn't tell the whole story, but I thought I should point out that important thing. Now he aims at a much bigger production each season it comes. And it's always trying to look at the fallow land, which is land not being used for other purposes. So this is a fallow land, and also is an intercrop, a crop between two crops, so that you don't disturb the other crops. People cannot say, why are you producing mung beans when you could produce rice or something people need very badly? So we are not trying to disturb that cropping pattern, but it's an additional, and it adds fertility to the soil. That's the beauty of the mung bean. It fixes nitrogen in the soil. So this is an additional benefit to the farming. So the farming, agriculture could be an interesting area of social business. And this is one demonstration of it. And Watanabe-san would probably could have explained, if he had time, that it's not only restaurant, it's also production. All the produce that he'll be cooking in his restaurants will be produced in Bangladesh in a hygienic way, because one of our problems in Bangladesh, most of our vegetables and other products are contaminated with pesticides, with all kinds of chemicals. Even the fish is treated with chemicals so that it looks fresh and so on. So here he's trying to set up a restaurant which will produce healthy food, it will serve healthy food for common people at a reasonable price. That's the important part of this, his restaurant. It's not just a restaurant for fancy people to pay high price and enjoy their evening. It's for common people, good food, healthy food, uncontaminated food at a fair price, a reasonable price. That's the challenge that he's taking on. So again, he will be connected with agriculture, because everything he will be selling has to be very clear that it's not contaminated, it's clean, it's hygienic and healthy. No unhealthy food will be sold through his restaurant. So this is the challenge. Again, agriculture becomes an important ingredient of social business. Another one is the shea nut that Ghana experienced. This is a common story for all agricultural produce. In Ghana, the shea nut is collected by poor women from the forest. And then when it is collected, they sell it very low price to the middleman. And that middleman sells it to the next middleman, and next middleman sells it to the next middleman, and finally to the exporter, who sells it to L'Oreal in France. And L'Oreal pays a very high price. But the women who collects these nuts from the forest, very hard work, but she doesn't get it. Somebody else in the middle gets the money, L'Oreal pays for it. And L'Oreal converts it into shea butter, which has become a prized material for all the women in Europe. And they look beautiful and their skin stays good and everybody loves shea butter. But the women who collected these nuts, daring into those forests and collecting it, didn't get anything. So the idea came in a conference with SAP and so on, how to create a social business to take the money that L'Oreal pays, goes to the women in the village. And that's the program that Planet Finance and Grameen together is doing, so making sure that the price from the L'Oreal goes to the women, not the intermediary. So intermediation is done by a social business, where they don't want to make money for themselves, all they want to make sure the women there get the best price possible. This is the story of all agricultural produce. Take the case of coffee. Coffee growers don't get anything. But when it goes to the Starbucks and all the big guys, they pay very high price. The consumers pay very high price to them, but that price doesn't go to the coffee growers. They still remain poor people. And this is the story of cotton growers. Cotton growers don't get money. It is the middlemen and the people who do the processing of it, they get all the money. So we can create those social businesses in between so that it's straightforward. You benefit the people who actually produce it. Actual producers are always at the low income level. You go through any single piece of agricultural produce, you can see the problem there. Not only the shea butter, the program in Ghana is using this social business in between. They're also bringing very high level of technology, information technology. That's how SAP got involved. SAP not only provides the financing of it, also they give the technology support so that you know exactly where it's being produced, how it is being run, who gets what. It's all done through the software of the quality of SAP can make. So this is another addition to it. It's not only just, okay, let's help the poor people in a way they can get a little bit more money, but it's made very sophisticated so that you know exactly what the situation is. So that's the beauty of the shea nut story that we have. So we have lots of agricultural story right here. And agriculture is a very fundamental part of poor people's economy. So if you can do something on the social business side, doing that, that will be wonderful. And then we have the financing part with the Royston came out with all the ideas about the financing, and let's give him a big applause for that. It's a fantastic thing he's doing. And also the story that he told about buying and selling the shares buying. This is very interesting, real story that somebody said they understand. They don't make any dividend, only they get the money back, that's all. So that becomes a standardized transaction in the social business area. So they have laid down the real case for that. And we got the National University of Singapore turning around Singapore, which is a city where thrives on money, making money, to turn it around to look at how to use the money, changing the society. So this is a very important role and US is trying to play, and getting the young people to understand making money is not the only thing in life, and how to use the money in a way that makes sense, turn around the people's life. That's the most significant part of it. So we congratulate NUS for doing that, and also everybody because this is a very significant initiative taken by NUS. So we had a very interesting discussion this morning, and also a great achievement during this discussion. We have a significant decision announced today. And thank you. Well, let's give a big applause for all the panelists here.
So almost my job also been done by Professor Yunus. So I'd like to end this session here. In fact, on social business, there are few literature on the, there are some books available in different languages, social business in probably 22 languages, the book that published by, written by Professor Muhammad Yunus. And also from Kyushu University, there is a book available. They, professor from Kyushu University wrote a book on social business case studies, so you can see how co-social business are being played in the areas in Bangladesh and elsewhere. So thank you very much. I would like to say end the session. And once again, please give a big applause to the presenters and Professor Muhammad Yunus. Thank you.